Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 7 of the Mana Dorks Podcast. As always, I'm Tasty Snackies, brought to you with my co-host, McBee. How's it going, McBee?
Finger guns. Hey, what's happening, man? Wonderful to be here.
Finger guns as well. Thank you very much for the kind sentiment of murder and despair. But how's your week been?
It's been very busy, but I'm glad to be here doing this because when you're done wine, need to talk about Magic the Gathering and maybe entertain some people because I don't get to do that in my regular job.
I was about to say, as a radio host, you totally don't get to interact on the entertainment level on a daily basis.
Nothing that I do is entertaining in my work. It's all business. Nothing.
All the time. No partying. No mullets allowed in this house of yours.
Because mullets would imply that there's some sort of party in the back, and there's no party. It's all business. So here we are, such as we are.
Well, now it's party time. Speaking of party time, we got to talk about our sponsors for this episode. Starting off with the Rogue Deck Builder for hooking me up with these Commander products. Sent me a whole case. I don't have the Saheeli one on display because I'm currently building with it because I'm really excited for Saheeli and Tawnos and Brutaclad and all that other cool shit.
Yo, so, that's clearly your fave then out of the four of them, right?
It definitely is. I may give Lord Windgrace a try. I don't know if I want to do like a hyper land, like land destruction, or if I want to do like a more casual landfall deck, or maybe like a super powerful landfall deck. That might also work as well.
Yo, shout out to Rogue Deck Builder on that, because now you have even more fodder for cool commander decks. Because I think Wizards did a pretty good job this time having each one of these commanders be something that's very specific and very, like in color and fun and cool mechanics, build around me cards. I think they did a pretty good job putting together a little skeleton there for people to build around.
I think so as well. A lot of people were complaining about these commander products because, it doesn't have a value in it and whatever. But I don't know. I feel like I've heard this same complaint with literally every single commander product ever, except this time there just seems to be a much more larger atmosphere of a negative attitude towards these products. And I don't know. I just don't share the same sentiment. I think they're fine for what they are, and y'all just probably heard me smack against the table there. But I think they're perfectly fine for what they are. They've always meant to be like an entry point into Commander, and for some reason, players have just felt entitled to getting super powerful, valuable cards because, that has been kind of the history for a certain number of Commander decks, like the one with Mindseas with True Name Nemesis in it. That's a good example. This last one had like Teferi's Protection in it and like Disrupt Decorum, which are pretty valuable cards still to this day.
I think if they put maybe like one chase card in each of them, like one real chase card, that would be cool. But at the same time, do you want to do that and then have one of them is going to be the clear favorite and those are going to move out super fast, or do you just want to have all of them available all the time? Because if you put a chase card in just one of them, like they did, like with True Name Nemesis, then that one is just always going to be gone. Yeah. And it also makes the singles just junk, basically, all the rest of it. So I don't know. It's a crapshoot either way, but they give you a strong product this time.
Yeah, I think it's fine. Okay, so they did increase the price by like $5. So
bitch.
I don't think that's that bad of a price increase. Then again, like if it incrementally goes up every single year by $5, then obviously we have a problem here. But I've always assumed that these decks, personally to me, have always been fair at around the $40 to $50 price range. You can still find even clear back to Commander 2013 decks that are still in the realm of like $50. And I think that's always been a fair price to pick up a pre-con Commander deck anyway. So I don't know.
Yeah, I guess really what you want out of those decks is a wealth of like cool build around me stuff, not so much value. Like if the ideas are good and they're going to make cool commanders, like that's a good product.
Right. And that's what I think.
Value or not.
I think that was the key to last year's Commander product, was because they had tribal. So it was really easy for players to get into and like grasp the ideas of the decks really well. And build upon them rather than just being shoved full of value, which I mean some decks were. And I mean, I think each deck was given like the new commander land. Some of them were given that artifact that helps tribes, and that card goes for like $8 or $9. It seems like a lot of the newer cards in Commander 17 actually carried the value, and that may ring true for this new set here, with especially with cards like Animatu's Augury, which I think is going to be not a commander staple, but it's going to be a heavily played blue commander card. But that's besides the point.
Dude, you know what I think would be a sweet one is if in all the commanders one year they put in Cavernous Souls.
Oh my god!
Because I mean, you want some random utility land? There you go. Stupid Cavernous Souls being $1 billion. God, it's so dumb.
Here's a rando $100 bill in this $40 deck.
Not anymore. Now it's a $20 bill.
Shove them in all the decks so that way they all don't get sold out. That's what it is. You take your card that you know is super good or is going to be super valuable, and you just throw it in every single deck.
Yep.
Hire me, Wizards.
Okay, question for you, by the way. Okay, one more time, actually. Shout out Rogue Deck Builder. Much love.
Yes, shout out to Rogue Deck Builder. Before I get to your question,
yes.
Had to shout out a channel this week, and the shout out that I'm going to do is for They Said We Said John. If you're watching right now, shout out to you. He's hovering. He's been a slow growing channel, and I think he should really grow. He's very active in the community, and he has his own Google Hangouts podcast, which I kind of stole from I can't talk correctly. I stole the idea from him. There we go. And he talks to like other larger Magic the Gathering personalities. If I'm not mistaken, he's had like the Mana Source on there, but he's criminally small. He's under 100 subscribers. So please, or not under 100, he's under 1,000. Please go check out John at They Said We Said here on YouTube. Was there any channels in particular that you wanted to shout out, McBee, or?
Did you see that Mike Shen, the guy who does Strictly Dumplings, got his YouTube like silver badge with 1 million subscribers?
No, I
love those giant YouTube things, the giant YouTube awards.
Oh yeah, the plaques. I don't know who the Dumplings guy is. What'd you say it is?
Strictly Dumplings is it's a giant channel, so it's like 1,000 times bigger than ours. But I just I love this guy's channel, and I love to see people getting nice things in the world. And 1 million YouTube subscribers and a plaque to go along with it is pretty dope, man.
Right, that's swag, dope. Man. Got to get that.
You know what this guy does?
Huh? What does he do?
Just flies around and eats a bunch of noodles all the damn time.
God damn, we're doing it wrong. You got to hit the market at a completely different angle. You can't make videos about shitty fucking trading cards. You gotta be more relatable.
Like going to all-you-can-eat buffets and eating lots of noodles.
Or
nooders.
So what's this question you needed to ask me?
Okay, man. Gun to your head. One of them's got to go. Magic the Gathering, Jurassic Park.
Like, what do you mean? Like
it wiped off the face of the earth. No one's ever heard of it. No one will ever speak to you about it. There's no T-shirts, no swag, no nothing.
Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park's got to go.
Yeah, it can go. It only had like 2, potentially 3 good movies. It's fine. As a franchise, it can die off.
Wow. Like the dinosaurs.
I'm sorry. It's got to be extinct, as they would say. Bad puns are bad.
And now a haiku about dead dinosaurs. Dead dinosaurs. You are dead dinosaurs. Dead dinosaurs.
God damn it.
We'll take your comments down below. Complaints in the chat. Thank you.
10 out of 10. Round of applause for your master poet here. So on the docket tonight for tonight's episode, we're going to be talking about some Hall of Fame controversy because, you know, there's always got to be controversy in Magic the Gathering, and we always got to bitch about something, somewhere, somehow. We're also going to be talking about the rise of counterfeits and how prevalent they've become in competitive play, even though everyone wants to kind of put their head in the sand about it and try to ignore the problem. It's pretty prevalent. And then the third topic that we wanted to talk about was bad arena prize support and how just shitty it is. And so, I mean, some of it's okay, but we'll go deeper into it later. So first, we're going to be doing this screen share thing, so hopefully it's not totally fucked up. We're going to be going over this Hall of Fame situation here, and we'll begin by highlighting... Well, before we even do that, McBee, would you like to explain to our audience, if they don't already know what the Pro Tour Hall of Fame is?
So it's a bunch of people who get together and vote basically who is going to be on, who's going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, and thus they'll be etched into the annals of history as some of the greatest Magic players of all time. Plus, they get to go to the Pro Tour over and over and over again. They get lifetime invite. Is that right?
Yeah, lifetime invites.
And I'm not sure what the like travel expenses or anything like that they get. I don't think it's like guaranteed money to travel, but
I don't think so either. At least I wouldn't assume so. Just given Wizards and how they've been treating pros.
Just getting invited to every Pro Tour and for all of time is pretty rad.
Yeah.
Plus, these are people who you're voted on by like kind of your peers, one could say, and it's done by like a pick your top 5. Like you have 5 slots to fill, and you put people in there as you see fit, and then they tabulate the votes and produce a top 5 folks that are going in. Or now it may be more than that now.
Yeah, I think originally during the first like year or two, maybe even more, it was 5 inductees every year, but now it's 3. I think it's been like 3 for quite some time, at least since I've been paying attention to the Hall of Fame. The first one that I remember seeing people be inducted into it, I think it was Pro Tour Return to Ravnica, where, if I'm not mistaken, that was Brian Kibler's Hall of Fame entry. I could be wrong. That was like 6 years ago. But we are talking about the Hall of Fame today because, as always, every single year, as Patrick Sullivan likes to point out to us in a very spicy tweet, I love Hall of Fame season. When else do games' biggest stars and community figures, past and present, gather around to share stories about how their contemporaries are all pieces of shit? So, what do you think about that shit?
Wow, such shade.
Right?
Such shade.
Fucking Jesus. And for good reason, because as Alexander Hain also on Twitter, because it's Twitter, everyone's got to fucking spout their opinion about something, and every Magic player in the world needs to be angry about something. He also decided to throw his hat into the ring and say, MTG Hall of Fame time, when people discuss how many great results excuse how much shadiness / cheating. For me, the line is simple. I don't think thieves should be rewarded for having stolen money. Clean players only for the Hall, even if they have 3 top 8s versus others 5. And that's a pretty specific call out. So that's quite interesting.
Well, I mean, look who's already in the Hall of Fame, right? Like, Bob Mayer's in there.
Yeah, I just learned this today because of that of Alexander Hain. Someone asked him in the replies about the whole Bob Maher situation, and so I decided to look it up here on Wikipedia, and it says here, oh wait, that's highlighting too much. There we go. In 2002, Maher was suspended from the DCI for 6 months for committing tournament fraud. He participated in false tournaments with Jason Moogney and Chad Butterfield and used the rating points gained to qualify for the World Championship. So pretty much he was taking advantage of the ELO system. And so if y'all already don't know, Mr. Bob Maher is a famed Magic the Gathering card. He's known as Dark Confidant. So we do have a known cheater for being in the Hall of Fame and being recognized as a winner of a specific event to be on a card. And this would also coincide with Wizards letting in David Williams to the Silver Showcase. And for those of you that don't know, the Silver Showcase was this shitty ass event that kind of crashed and burned last week. And David Williams was known for having a sketchy past as well. Yet Magic welcomed him back in with open arms because of quote unquote that poker money. So,
wow, that's what it is.
Well, I mean, he was a pro poker player, right? I mean, he's not really known for Hearthstone, if I'm not too mistaken, or he's just known as a poker player.
Yep. Former Magic player who got disqualified from Worlds, right? Disqualified from Worlds while he was playing the Sapperling opposition deck.
Yeah, something like that. We talked about it in episode 4 or 5, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I don't know, man. People did shady things back in the day. Like people cheated, and I mean everybody I'm sure has some story of something that they're not proud of, or of things that have happened to them. If nothing else, then I don't know. I just think whatever their current state is now, that's probably what's relevant. Like bad things that they've done in the past, after a little while, you got to let it go, right?
Well, I mean, it is kind of like what Alexander Hayne did point out earlier is that they had cheated money out of more honest players and potential or the potentiality to be in that player's shoes. You know, if this cheater hadn't been in the Hall of Fame, maybe we would have had someone who actually, quote unquote, deserved to be in there.
I don't know, man. No, I don't feel that that's right at all. You start talking about if that guy hadn't been here, then this person would have got in. Yeah, well,
but I mean,
on what's reality right in front of you. Like if you've gone too far past a mistake and you can't rewind, can't correct it, then you play through it, right?
Oh, so you're saying there's a statute of limitations for cheating in Magic the Gathering?
I'm saying that time changes people, and the things that you did back in the day, in some cases can be forgiven and probably should be forgiven after a while, especially if you haven't been doing it for years and years. People also have to take into account, what people who may have cheated in the past, what they're doing now. Are they still cheating scumbags, or are they walking the straight and narrow? Are they trying to play as the good Dr. Garfield intended?
Maybe they used to be a cheater and now they're trying to make up for past transgressions. So now they're a mentor to other players or something.
Maybe that is the case, but
that's a possibility.
Maybe that's an argument for casting a vote with strong, making sure that you're confident in your vote in casting it for somebody going into the Hall of Fame. You think about the character of someone or the body of their body of accomplishment as a whole, in addition to what they do for the community.
Do you think like how we already talked about with Maher earlier, do you think it would be fair if they were to be redacted from the list? If we were to reach a certain point in our culture where people would kind of take control of that and just start crossing names off the list?
God, I would hope not. At what point? Yeah, I don't know. The slippery slope argument is outplayed, and it's a little bit silly.
I'm not just doing a slippery. I'm just just bringing up ideas. I don't really think it's all doom and gloom. If it were, then I'd be a depressed sack of shit. But
aren't you? Though?
No,
just joking, man. I'm just joking.
On Tuesdays. Today's Thursday.
The idea of putting somebody in the Hall of Fame, to me, requires some thought, and maybe you should think about more than just how many PT and GP wins they have under their belt. What have they done for the community? I think that's another litmus test or another factor for putting somebody on the list, is all I'm saying. Or, how are they to the people around them? That's another good one too. There are legends of some people being total a-holes, and so maybe they're still in the Hall of Fame. Maybe they don't deserve to be.
All right, so I got an interesting question. So you know Alex Bertoncini, right?
I don't know him personally.
He's Two Explorers.
Yeah, that I know. Yeah.
Yeah, that's him. He just recently came back from his suspension, and I think that was his third or second suspension. I can't remember correctly. Someone in the chat will correct me. I'm pretty certain that was his second suspension. Point is, he's back on, and I think he's eligible for the Pro Tour. Maybe I'm being a bit dishonest here, but the point is he's doing well. And let's say he becomes a Hall of Fame member through years of grinding and success and everything. Like, even though you had been suspended twice for blatantly cheating, but you managed to, like, as you said, do your work and improve yourself as a person. Do you think, like, 10 to 15 years from now, if you were to be put into the Hall of Fame, do you think, like, people would look back on what happened 5 to 10 years ago and just be like, no, you can't do that?
It's a great question. Well, I mean, you're talking. I mean, if you put my theory to the test about forgiving people based on the amount of time that's passed and what they've done since then, if somebody genuinely goes from, you know, like, they may have cheated back in the day, but they genuinely put stuff on their record moving forward from that incidence of them cheating, you should be able to look at their body of work and say, all right, the stuff that happened from here back is not considered. But what goes on from this point, when there was no cheating, up until, you know, present day, when they're still not cheating, when they've been walking the straight and narrow, that seems like a fair distance to judge for them. But everything from when they were cheating, when they were basically, you know, like, using some sort of handicap, that should be disregarded.
Fair enough. Got to be consistent at least. I agree to a certain extent. If you can prove that you're a decent person and that you don't cheat, and you continue to do so after the fact, I mean, why not? I mean, sure, you may have been caught cheating and you paid the price for it. I mean, like, yeah, he did kind of pay the price for it. And if he can prove himself to be a model Magic the Gathering citizen, then I say, why not?
Wow, it's like Magic parole.
Yeah, almost.
It's like Magic parole.
Maybe he's, like, blacklisted from Hall of Fame for a certain amount of years until, like, maybe that's what it is. I don't know. Seems a bit backward.
Caught up in the Magic prison industrial complex.
He's becoming another statistic, man. So there's more controversy with the Hall of Fame beyond just that. So content creators, just like me, just like McBee, just like Wedge from the Mana Source, and Evan Irwin, and Aaron Campbell, and Ruben Bressler, and all these other people. And the reason why I bring these specific people up is because they're all members of the Pro Tour Hall of Fame committee. Evan Irwin's been a part of it for the better half of a decade, if not a decade or longer. And I remember seeing old videos of his where people had issues with a effective nobody, a YouTuber that's not, like, too involved in the pro Magic scene, is all of a sudden getting, like, this level of clout, this type of accolade to be able to nominate certain people into the Hall of Fame. Well, this argument is being brought back into the forefront again because people like Ruben Bressler and Aaron Campbell and Wedge from the Mana Source and maybe others, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't really paid attention to how many new members there are this year, and it seems that a decent amount of them are content creators, are now getting to decide who is in the Pro Tour Hall of Fame. Now, Ruben Bressler, from what I understand, he's an experienced player, and he's been part of that scene for quite some time, so it's understandable in that aspect. But for, like, your regular Joe Schmoes that makes videos, you know, why would you even suggest that they would be able to nominate these certain players into the Hall of Fame? And that's what a lot of people are arguing. And I made a comment on Twitter saying, like, I love soda, but you don't see me on the committee for the Mountain Dew Flavor Hall of Fame. Something snarky like that.
Oh, but you can choose in their contest.
Yes. Yes, you can.
You can choose in their flavor contest.
So what do you think about this, McBee? What do you think of all this arguing between people about the legitimacy of being able to be on this committee? Now, before I even say that, I have to mention that the committee is an exceedingly large group, at least 100 to 150, if not more people.
Yeah, it's a drop in the bucket, man. It's a drop in the bucket. Also, this discussion makes me want the blue voltage Mountain Dew. Damn, that stuff's good.
I was always a Livewire fan.
Livewire is pretty dang. I like the whiteout. The whiteout is good too.
Livewire was the first Mountain Dew flavor that I actually enjoyed because I do not like Mountain Dew at all. Livewire I enjoy. And Code Red. Code Red is also pretty bomb.
For me, this argument is sort of like the Screen Actors Guild. You know what I mean? Like you're talking about people who are at various levels of involvement being able to cast a vote for best movie, best picture, costume design, all that sort of nonsense. I mean, we're talking about people who are voting in Magic players here.
Oh, you're talking about the Academy.
Yeah, I'm talking about like the Academy of Motion Pictures.
Okay.
Or the Screen Actors Guild or whatever.
Right.
Like those people, like you can to be in like the Screen Actors Guild or whatever, you really don't have to do that much work. You know what I'm saying? Like the barrier to entry is finite, and it is not super high probably. Or to be in like the recording industry of America to hand out Grammys, like you have to have played and like been on a record and maybe sold some amount of records or something like that, and that can be a lot of people. And I think that YouTubers and people who participate in the overall like zeitgeist of Magic the Gathering, people who are part of it to a certain level, if they want to cast a vote for the Hall of Fame, that makes perfect sense to me. You don't necessarily have to be somebody who's out there with like multiple GP wins and all this other stuff. But if you have played for a long time, and I think you're a contributor to Magic as a whole, the community as a voice, you can be rewarded with a vote for the Hall of Fame. At least that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, I'm a bit torn on this subject. Like on one hand, I'm kind of more towards the gatekeeping aspect where like you kind of have to earn your position in order to elect other members into this group. Like, I don't know, for example, let's say other Hall of Fame members automatically get a part in this committee, and other select pro player members, or like, I don't know, commentators like your Cedric Phillips and your Patrick Sullivans and that kind of stuff, and like your Wizards of the Coast commentators. Then again, that could also be conflict of interest. But I don't know. It just, I also completely understand where you're coming from as well, because it totally shouldn't be gatekeeping, because it's a community thing, really, right? Like, this is something that even your most star-crossed, green as fuck Magic the Gathering player who just started playing and is getting really hyped for Standard might have a dream of themselves saying, like, I want to be in the Pro Tour Hall of Fame. Like, you're looking up Wikipedia articles and you're getting really heavy into this game and you're just like, this looks so cool. I want to live the dream. And from then on, it just kind of becomes like this public domain kind of idea, really. So I don't agree, or I agree with wanting to gatekeep who gets to be a member of this committee, because let's say I want to be in the Hall of Fame, but I'm not good enough to be in the Hall of Fame. Well, I can be in the committee, and that's an attainable goal now for certain people. If you want to become a big enough content creator or contributor to where you get the attention from Wizards of the Coast and you can be a member of this committee, you can do that to the ire of some people, but that's a path that you can now go about as a Magic the Gathering member of the community.
So as you're saying, like, you can be devoid of like Magic skill and just get your way into this elite community. Well, not elite, but this small community of people who choose who goes into the Hall of Fame just because you put a bunch of YouTube videos together, though you may have not really won many events.
Yeah. Yeah, like that's what I kind of mean. Like I saw the Mana Source and Ristic Studies having a discussion about this, and Mana Sources broke it down kind of to him, and he was like, you make art videos, and he's just like, does that automatically assess that you aren't able to elect someone into the Hall of Fame? And that's an interesting question, because like how you mentioned earlier, if you don't have the chops to play Magic in a competitive environment should you really have a say who is of the highest echelons in the competitive scene.
Interesting. And at what point does it become just a popularity contest if you let the electorate effectively get way too big?
Yeah. Or if like you have 450 committee members and then it becomes like this really weird popularity contest if like people get really, really buddy with each other or something. That's like, even if it were to grow to that size, which I seriously doubt it would, but I don't know.
That's an interesting thought, because you like, do you keep it kind of behind, like you're talking about gatekeeping. Do you keep the gates closed and let the people who are excellent Magic players, people who have met stringent requirements to get there, elect the people who are effectively the most elite of those people? Or do you just start letting in people who are like community contributors? Well, good for you guys, but like, how good of a judge are you of someone's like excellence at playing Magic? Like, if somebody is a master at Magic and they are like masters of reading somebody and knowing what's in their opponent's hand and being able to take like information and decode it and turn it into great lines of play, that is a very different skill from like, I've entertained lots and lots of people with my videos about Pauper. Like those are two very, very different things. So
would you say that a pro Magic competitor would be able to be on the theoretical Hall of Fame committee for Magic the Gathering content creators? Like, let's flip that argument. Let's say,
actually, yes.
Yeah.
I would say that yes, because as you should have to be good or know what's good if you're electing something. You should have to have a certain set of standards. Like, that should be built into you. Well, no, you can't. Now that I'm thinking of my SAG analogy, I don't know if that's the case either. Just because you've performed something doesn't necessarily mean that you know a good performance. Like, like you could have been cast in some shitty movies, and
there's people who intentionally watch bad movies and they don't really watch good movies, but they really enjoy bad movies. Would you say this person should be on the Academy Guild? Like, kind of like making like a bad analogy out of there, but just like let's say,
like, this didn't have enough fake guts and practical shitty effects in it, so I'm not going to vote for that for Best Picture.
There wasn't enough schlock. I'm not feeling it, dog.
Yep. No, thank you. Like, it's fucking Schindler's List forever. That's all I ever want to see, is movies like Schindler's List. I'll only vote for movies where the Nazis kill a bunch of people. That's all I'm going to vote for every time.
Speaking of Nazis, you know what's like an equivalent to that in Magic the Gathering, or at least people are thinking it is?
What?
Counterfeits.
Oh, they think it's the devil?
Yeah, people are not a big fan of counterfeits. So
I like the counterfeits personally.
For all you normies that don't really pay attention to this kind of stuff, or well, I should say everyone, because everyone pays attention to this kind of stuff. There's a new round of counterfeits coming around, and they're pretty decent quality shit. So, as you can tell, they got that nice little foil stamp, and they do look a little bit better. The foiling does look a little bit more legit, and just from a picture, now you have to assume this is a picture and not real life. So obviously in real life, it's probably going to look a bit different. It'll probably have a different texture, but upon close inspection, this is some pretty good looking shit. We even got Collective Brutality, which came out in 2016, Eldritch Moon. And obviously this has all been Eternal Masters and Modern Masters stuff to show off the new foiling, or the little stamped foil. And here's the last round here. Cavern of Souls, you new $100 card, and Vampiric Tutor, $50 card. Cyclonic Rift will always be a Commander casual favorite. Snapcaster, always teetering between $60 to $80. Decent cards that you probably want to be counterfeiting.
Snapcaster.
Yeah, so as a result, a lot of people are kind of freaking out about this. Not just that set of counterfeits, but the fact that this was shared on a subreddit dedicated strictly to counterfeits. And there's YouTube channels that review these products and talk about them in depth. And in tandem with that, there's also a team of players that play in Grand Prix that try to promote this product, as it were. And they play with entirely fake decks. And this is coming from the words of Saffron Olive himself, who posted, I'm just going to repeat exactly what I just said. Working on an article about the growth in counterfeit card community over the past year or two. There's now a subreddit, YouTube review channels, even a team, and prove how realistic their product is. So exactly what I just said. So,
wow.
Yeah. What do you think?
I enjoy some proxies. I hate the idea of them being in competitive Magic. Like they're an EDH tool.
It was an eventuality.
Commander tool in my mind.
Yeah, that's what it was for the longest time. Well, no, I would like to assume that even in the beginning, the old days, like with your rebacked collector's editions, people are trying to get away with legitimate versions to probably play in some old extended decks or something that may have created the demand for counterfeits. That way you wouldn't have to pay $400 for a Black Lotus or something. You could just buy the $50 collector's edition version.
Yeah.
But
there's always like an element of people who are out to defraud people.
And of course.
There's also an element of people who just want to make sweet proxies.
Yeah, I remember having a friend who would make these really cool proxies, and then he even showed me how to defoil cards so you can make your own proxies and print them. But and then you have people like the proxy guy who it's pretty much his, when he's not working, he's making really cool designs and proxies. I don't know if you know of him, Sean, but
the Portland guy.
Huh?
Is he a Portland guy?
No, at least I don't think he is, but he goes by like @ProxyMTG on Twitter or something like that, but he makes out of this world proxies, and he just experiments with borders and doing different shit all the time, and just A+ quality. He doesn't sell his work, obviously, because of copyright issues, and he'd be sued into the fucking ground.
You can't do that.
But proxies have been a thing for quite some time, and like not always a negative way, but or not as a negative aspect of the Magic Gathering community, but as a positive one as well. Well, with this rise of counterfeits in our community, I decided to ask a bunch of questions on Twitter, and you'll have to pay attention to the amount of votes. There's only 28. It's an incredibly small sample size, so take it for what it is. I asked 5 questions. The first one: do you own and play with counterfeit Magic cards? 25% yes, 64% said no, and 11 said no, but I want to. So that's at about 36% that would consider playing with Magic or counterfeit Magic cards. So go back 5, 10, 15 years, I'm sure these numbers would probably look drastically different because of how our attitudes changed. And the first the first reason is probably the reserve list. The reserve list is pricing out people quite literally. What's your take on, especially with the reserve list, kind of making reserve list cards obviously reserve list cards, but these legacy decks in particular just explode completely.
I hate it, man. I hate it. People should be able to play the game, and the game has evolved so far too that it's like the idea of having these archaic formats not being the old formats are fun. They're a unique thing in and of themselves. Just like how every game of Magic is like progressively, the goal is to have it be a little bit different, and that's where the fun of Magic comes from. Is from the different limitations and how it evolves and how it turns into something new. And each one of these formats is like a snapshot of how Magic was at a certain time. And like you should be able to go back and access those different times, those different like formats and limitations that are placed on you, because limitations are what makes a game fun. And when you're talking about like really old formats from back in the day where you only have, for instance, like 93, 94 League, let's talk about that. You have all these old cards, but people can't play that format because there are all these $1,000 cards or like $1,500 cards, $500 cards that they just can't have access to. Or
it's just getting absolutely insane. Like, go take a look at something as innocuous as like Grim Monolith, which isn't even that super legacy playable unless you throw it in like a mud deck.
It's a powerful card. But the fact that it's on the reserved list and it's powerful is what makes it. I mean, how much is Grim Monolith now?
If I'm not mistaken, it's hovering like in the hundreds, at least like $200. Let's look that up real quick. Grim Mon.
$100.
Yeah, and like foils are in the thousands. $120 right now. And then there's a literal. Oh wait, no, that's an ad for Cool Stuff Inc. It's a champion, or it's a. Yeah, it's a world championship version for $7. I was like, oh, a proxy for $7.
$7 for the gold bordered one?
Yeah, $7. Buy them.
Ridiculous.
That's something that Commander players should do, is if you want reserve list cards on the cheap, if you can find gold bordered versions, buy those. Those are legal proxies. I mean, even though they're not legal, you can play with them in EDH most of the time, and no one will give you shit about it. But like in the eye of Wizards of the Coast, they don't have a problem with you buying their official proxies.
Up until I would say about 6 years ago, my dad collected Magic the Gathering cards. Like, he started when like Tempest and Saga and all that stuff was out, and he had a whole set of foil Legacy.
Holy shit!
At our house for a long time, and he sold it like right before he moved to Arizona.
Did you show him the updated prices?
No, dude, you can't live in the past.
You don't want to give him a heart attack and be like, look at the foil Grim Monolith now.
Yeah. So like, he had a whole set of foil Legacy and Destiny.
Oh my god!
So imagine like how much. That was only like 5 or 6 years ago that he had that, and how much it's gone up since then. Like, he sold probably like the entire collection for less than one foil Grim Monolith is worth now.
Oh no!
Crazy!
Oh no!
That's why Magic the Gathering is broken, because stupid inflation just makes it. Like, I get it. They're not making any more of those crazy rare cards. Like, but to be able to play the formats, to be able to play Commander the way you want to be able to play casual old formats, to go back and relive Magic and not have it be like something that people just cannot ever do because cards are so expensive. Like, there needs to be proxies. There needs to be access to this old stuff, because that's what's going to continue to keep people playing the game, is this, like, the ability to go back in time and look at a snapshot of time from when they played from back in the day. I think the increase in that sort of experience, the desire for that will grow within Magic as people continue to like look back at
oh yeah, especially with newer players who gain interest in these older formats, and they're like, hey, I want to play this Canadian Threshold deck.
Yep.
Oh, hey, look at how much a fucking Taiga is. Literally.
I am so glad that I own championship decks, dude. I'm so glad. For as long as I own the gold border championship decks, I will be able to be like, hey, this is how Magic was back in 1999. Your deck has 4 Grim Monoliths in it, 4 Tinkers, 4 like of Phyrexian. It has Phyrexian Colossus and Brainstorm and all this other crazy shit.
I want to buy a gold bordered because I have the blue-white gold bordered control deck that was positioned really well against Affinity in the world or in the championships that year. I want to get the Affinity version of that so I can know what it was like, because I never played with arguably one of the most disgustingly broken standard decks of all time.
Dude, I'll bring it over. We can play it. I got it in my closet right now.
Hell yeah. fucking throw down. Maybe I'll play the blue-white and try to smash out Decree of Justices and Eternal Dragons, just slow grinding.
Come visit, Nick.
All right, let's do this.
Yep, come visit. We can throw down.
Throw a bonus video up on the channel of gameplay with these decks. That would get some views. I'm sure no one has done that. Maybe I'll have to.
Excellent idea, actually, dude. You know who has it? Who has it even better than me? Because I'm missing 3 or 4 decks out of the first year. Shane from CCG House, he has he has multiples at various locations, you know, like in his warehouse area or whatever, and and in his possession somewhere within his archive of cards, he has, I think, multiple sets of championship decks.
What do you know what decks in particular they were?
Like all of them.
Oh no, I meant like the ones that you were missing. Like which decks in specific were they?
Oh, I'm missing like the 1996 decks. I'm missing like the Jund deck, like 2 different Jund decks, and then like a Stormbind deck and something else, like a red, white, green deck or something. There's a lot of crazy decks. You should look at the list from like 1996, and they're like decks with Singer Vampire, Lightning Bolt, Urnum Jin, and like Plowshares and Autumn Willow, and you know, stuff like that in them. Multiple Urnum Geddon decks, a couple blue-white control decks, and a Necropotence deck.
Get some heavy ass nostalgia going on.
It's so big time, dude. It's one of the most fun formats of all those decks. Actually, is the old ones from like 4th edition Ice Age. And
well, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's get met up and let's just start fucking pairing this shit all together. Just pair standard decks that weren't even meant to be played against each other. Like play the like the Grim Monolith deck that you were talking about, which I'm guessing is the Phyrexian Processor one, where Tolarian Academy. Yeah, pit that against Affinity. See how it goes.
Yeah, no Academy, but you do. Yeah, let's pair that against Affinity and see what happens.
Which broken artifact deck is the most busted?
I don't know. That would be interesting, because like that deck can have like early turn Colossus or early turn like Phyrexian Processor and cranking stuff out. But then again, the Affinity deck is like just a killing machine.
Let me just barf out my entire hand in one turn, and then cranial plating your head.
Like cool Mishra's Helix, bro. 15.
So I got a question for you, because I'm going to be asking you the same questions that I asked my other Twitter followers, because we have to go through the rest of these questions. So the next question that I asked, referring all the way back to counterfeit cards, because we got a little bit sidetracked, but we're still talking in the realm of proxies. So I asked my Twitter followers, do you feel that using counterfeit cards gives you an unfair advantage against an opponent who's using official cards? So what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely, without question.
So
you're talking about like using something that's not official in a tournament. You got to play official cards, man. You shouldn't be playing that in tournaments. Like if you have proxies, keep it to casual. Come on.
Yeah. So it seems that you are in the minority in this case, because it seems that 68% of people think that it's okay, or doesn't necessarily give you an unfair advantage. And I like this first response here. 2 gladiators fight. They are both given swords, but one sword was made by Greeks, not Romans. Both swords work the same, but the gladiator with the Greek sword won the fight. Did he have an unfair advantage, or was he the better fighter? It's kind of like if you were to also bring that up against playing EDH. If you were playing against someone who was playing your exact same deck, but it's all proxied out, and you're playing your legitimate version of your Etsuri deck, for example, and then he manages to beat you, he outplayed you, and it wasn't necessarily because his deck cost a fraction of the price.
Yeah, but it's still like you still have to follow the rules, man.
Mm-hmm.
And the tournament rules, you got to have official cards. And
right.
That's what it is. You're not going to have a sideboard with 19 cards, are you?
That's true. So you're definitely of the side that counterfeits shouldn't be used in a competitive aspect at all.
Yeah, no on that. Like,
okay,
if you're ignorant to it, if you're genuinely ignorant to it, like, you should not be issued, like, you shouldn't receive like a banning over it. You know what I mean? Like, if your confusion is genuine,
if you might have gotten blown out by buying a deck on the cheap and you couldn't believe the deal you got, and it turns out they're all fake.
If they're all fake,
I don't know.
Jesus Christ, what if you suck if you bought a deck that's all fake?
Well, yeah, you could be a new player. You could be like an idiotic new player and not pay attention to card quality. These fakes are getting pretty good nowadays. The only thing that's like really off about it is
deck from somebody though.
I don't know, some fucking idiot.
Okay. Here's a good point. You're a kid with money. And you go to somebody and they're like, "Hey, you can buy those cards individually from the shop, or you can buy them all from me for a third of the price right now, or half the price right now." And you're like, "Oh, that sounds good." And you fork over $200 for your $400 deck, or $500 for your $1,000 deck, or whatever. And then you're like, "Oh, they were all fake, and you didn't know it." I mean, that would suck, but at that point, you're also kind of ignorant to the fact, and you broke the news. Someone has to break the news to you that you just threw away $500. That's feel bads. That's a lot of feel bads.
I'm sure that's happened at least once. It can't have not happened. Like some idiot who just was not paying attention to the quality of the cards at all, or maybe they're like, "Oh, these weird older cards feel different. Oh, it must be because they're older." Or whatever.
I don't know. People are so suspicious, though. Like, you're talking about Magic players, just even scrubby Magic players are like suspicious. Suspicious Aloysius. They're not to be fooled.
You cannot trick a Magic the Gathering player. So, next question. This kind of leads into that. Besides errors, glaring, obvious errors, like in my Tarmogoyf or in my video about how to white border your Magic the Gathering cards, I explicitly showed in the thumbnail that it was a fake, and the best way you could tell is it was missing its converted mana cost. So just Tarmogoyf that costs nothing. So besides errors, are there any true differences between real Magic the Gathering cards and counterfeits? Like, in essence, like, they're both pieces of cardboard that say the exact same thing, and in practicality, they do the exact same thing. Do you consider that to be true, or would you still suggest that there's a difference?
Yeah, there's a difference, because it's a matter of perspective, right? If the closer you are to it, the more clear the difference becomes. Because real Magic cards have a certain, like, micker pattern on them from the way they were printed. They have more crisp detail from the way they were printed. And fake Magic cards, the closer and closer you look at them, the easier it is to tell that they are fake.
Well, right. And that's what I kind of meant as well. It was like when I should have been more specific with this first part here besides errors, because that's what I kind of mean. It's just like beyond like the obvious, like, how it feels and how it looks. Like that I kind of failed to explain further, but it seems that everyone, or 70%, seems to agree with you there.
So people acknowledge that they are different from real cards, but still they say if they would use them in a tournament.
Well,
60% said they would.
That's my next thing. So if you, McB, knew that you could 100%, like, without like anyone ever being able to catch you ever because they're so good, would you play with counterfeit cards at an event in good conscience?
I would hope that the answer would be no. I think that I would try and get everything that I can. No, I like, say I go to States or something and I'm competing against other people who have what I consider to be real cards. Like, I'm giving everyone the benefit of the doubt. Also, when I go to a Magic tournament, that their stuff is real, and even if it's not, I'm assuming, I'm giving everyone enough credit that I'm playing against them in good faith that like enough of their stuff is real that I take the tournament seriously. Like, even if I found out that my opponent's stuff wasn't real as I'm sitting across from them, I really would not be that mad at them. And I don't know that I would want to just win the match that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I guess I'm getting a little off track here, but it's like, I wouldn't fault somebody that much for using a couple of fake cards. And I frankly wouldn't really care about it if I'm sitting down playing against somebody and their cards are fake and I'm already in the game with them. Like, I just assume finish the match or whatever, just to play and have a real judge of who would win the round. But like, I don't know. I guess that's asking, would I turn somebody in if I knew that their cards were fake? And the answer to that's probably no. So, right. But would I play myself with fake cards? No, I would not. So I would do everything in my power to get all the cards that I could. And if like I'm short, say a Snapcaster Mage for a deck, and I have the option to play a fake one that is way past passable, and I know 100% I'm not going to get caught for it, I'm not going to play that fake Snapcaster Mage in a tournament because it's not the right thing to do.
Fair enough. So it seemed that it was a bit closer this time. A bit more people were in favor of getting or wanting to get away with playing counterfeit cards. And this is really interesting. This is the one that surprised me the most, because I thought for certain the overwhelming response would be no. And this is the one that I think got the most votes, and that was 32, which I know isn't that much for actual data, but I just think it's really interesting that more people would be willing to play with fakes. So the attitudes towards it have really kind of taken me aback and kind of put things in a different perspective for me, in just terms of, this isn't just a like us bitching about it just to like bitch about like the availability of cards. It's just like, this is a thing that people regularly probably think about on a basis. It's just like, should I just sacrifice my integrity and just buy these fake versions of these cards that kind of play the same, but they kind of look different? But I just find it really interesting.
I believe that I think the right place for fake cards is at your kitchen table. Like, to have access to play Magic without ugly written on stupid backwards cards is fine. That to me is like playing poker with your friends at home.
Yeah.
But when you
if you know what the cards do, yeah.
Right. And if you go to a Magic tournament and you use a bunch of fake cards to get in to the Magic tournament, to me that is more akin to like, I use counterfeit money to get into a poker tournament.
Yeah, that is a pretty decent analogy. I will have to give it to you on that. And oh wait, shit. I accidentally, oh, there we go. So bringing back earlier what you said, because you mentioned it yourself about would you report a player for using counterfeits, and you said no. And this actually surprised me more than the previous one, because even though people said that they would play with counterfeits if they knew they could get away with it, a comparable number of votes would also report fakes that they saw in the same event. So maybe it's not the same people voting, but I found this kind of surprising.
Are Johnny Tryhards?
Yeah, it's kind of hypocritical. I don't know. I find it interesting.
Wee, wee, wee. Here comes
I'll use them, but I'll also report you. Like, why?
You're like, yeah, I'd do that, but if you did it, I would totally report you.
Really dumb. Really stupid. So I think we can all agree that counterfeits in the long term are not good for the game. They don't pose for Wizards of the Coast as like a healthy position, or they don't put Wizards of the Coast in a healthy position at all.
This is true.
And I think they painted themselves in this corner by submitting to collectors after the absolute horrendous move of doing Chronicles. They panicked and they did the reserve list, and then they kept growing the reserve list. And here we are. The reserve list hasn't been updated in like 7 years, and prices are exploding. And the most interesting thing about the reserve list is that they've visited over it twice. They've or not twice, maybe even multiple times, because they probably did add cards afterwards, because they definitely added in Urza's block. And I think that maybe the furthest that it goes back. I don't know if any reserve list cards come after Urza's Legacy, but the point is that they're not consistent with this reserve list. So it could be any day from now. They could just nix it, and then they just start fucking reprinting cards out the wazoo. And it's like, here's this $500 collector's edition, and you get Power 9, and you get like one of each of like these super powerful cards, and here's a commander deck that like showcases all of it, or some bullshit like that. That could very well happen, because the last time reserve list cards were reprinted was in from the Vault Relics, or from the Vault Eggs. Yeah, it was from the Vault Relics, and that was Mox Diamond. And then dual decks, Phyrexia versus the Coalition, and that had Phyrexia Negator. And then they would like put Gaia's Cradle on Judge foils, and that was like one of the most common ways of getting reserve list cards to be reprinted was Judge foils. So they've never been consistent with it, and so who knows? Maybe they'll completely redact it all and just obliterate all the prices. But that kind of feels like a pipe dream.
That'd be great. I would love that. But then again, I'm one of the poor people out there that's like, liquidated a bunch of my assets, so I have 0 holdings in like long-term reserve list stuff. So I'm like, yes, bring back the game.
I only have a handful of reserve list cards. The only ones that I own that I know off the top of my head is the Mox Diamond. I own a Treachery. I own a Tanos' Coffin. And that may be it.
Interesting.
I don't really own that many. How many do you own? I own a Karn. That was the last one I bought, and I bought it for $5.
I could not tell you. It's not something that I've ever counted or even think or even thought about really in terms of like cards that I
cash out.
Cards that I own.
Cash out on your reserve list cards now.
I just saw that Opalescence went up a bunch, and
yeah, dude. That card's a casual favorite, and it's on the reserve list. Are you kidding me?
Opalescence and Replenish.
Hell yeah. Oh yeah, Replenish is on the fucking reserve list. That card is super dope. So moving on to our next subject here, we're going to be bitching about MTG Arena, because MTG Arena is our new favorite punching bag for this show, it seems, because it's a consistently inconsistent pile of shifts between mediocre and garbage.
Quite a range.
Quite a range indeed. Was there a little screen showing the entire time when I did that, or was my face showing normally?
Your face was showing for most of it.
Okay, good, because I had a little screen showing in it. For some reason, it showed it through the stream as well. It was kind of odd. But so MTG Arena, for those of you that don't know, they just added some new events, and you could play Pauper and you could play Momir Vig, but it's only in the card pool that is MTG Arena, and that's standard. And they also have Singleton as well. But one of the main issues with this is bad prize support. And let me show here by showing Saffron Olive's tweet. Shout out to Saffron Olive. We're going to consistently use you as a great source of information for the rest of this podcast, as long as it exists. Ugh, this payout feels horrible. More gold than quick constructed to enter despite way fewer games. Lock yourself into losing 500 gold just for entering, so it's impossible to play often without spending tons of money/gold. Seems designed to drain gold from the economy. And for those of you that don't really play MTG Arena that much, you may be able to get 500 gold within your dailies, but it's not worth it at all to play something like Pauper. And what Pauper says here is the entry fee is 600 gold or 120 gems. single game match structure, which I don't understand why Arena doesn't do best of threes. It's always single game. Yeah, it's really fucking stupid. And then the event ends if you either get 2 wins or 2 losses. And that is incredibly short compared to other events. Like other events, you would have to get up to either 7 wins or 3 losses, or 3 wins and 3 losses. This one, it's 2 wins or 2 losses for that high of a entry. What? Yeah, and then 0 wins, you get 50 gold. Yeah, and then one special card. 1 win, you get 100 gold, and then a special pity card. And then your 2 wins, you get 100 gold and 1 booster pack. And a booster pack is worth about 1,000 gold. So this is probably the single most offensive prize payout I've ever seen. And like, this is compared to like really shitty LGSs that I've been to in the past. This is absolute trash. You are in the negative like 99.9 repeated % of the time.
Wow. Why would anyone want to play that? I mean, if your goal is to like try and parlay that into more and like go on and play perpetually, and
we tried out Pauper, but no one wanted to play it, so we just never did it again.
Yeah, no shit. Like that's a good way to kill a format.
Right? They're too lazy to actually code it into the final game itself. So they're like, well, we tried out a bunch of different formats, and it seems that the most popular were these kinds, so we're just going to keep these in.
Like, we made the prize payout shit, and then no one ever showed up. Weird. Guess we better get rid of it. Bullet to the back of Lassie's head.
I don't understand why. Like, they've been building up Arena as like Magic Digital Next for how long now? 2015, 2014, if not maybe later, but like they've been putting a lot of time and resources into it. And like they hired Chris Cox as the new CEO to like kind of oversee this because he was the CEO at Microsoft Digital. So he knows his thing, or he knows shit about like video games and marketing them and building them. And so, and then they do shit like this, where they take Magic players' favorite formats that they enjoy so much on Magic the Gathering online, like Pauper and like Momir Vig. For those of you that don't know, Momir Vig is a super fun format where you just have basic lands in your deck and you play them and you cast creatures equal to whichever cost you pay at a roulette, just random creatures. I think the highest you can go is a comma in this format. So it's who can ever get to turn 9 first and slam down a 9/9 and blow out your opponent that way. But they just don't make it appealing to play at all in Arena.
Yeah, that's whack, dude. That should be that, like you wanting to play and wanting to continuously play, like maybe that isn't the ideal platform for it, like something small like that. You should want to like play for an amount of time and then be done with it, not just like play and play and play and play like some sort of mad person. But
it's like they're trying to build MTG Arena as like this. So MTG Arena is probably going to be advertised as like this free to play, you can build your Magic collection from free, at the cost of grinding in it like a near infinite amount of hours, because I put in $150 about 2 months ago and I'm barely able to keep up. And I feel like I have to slam more money in, and I play at least like 5 to 10 hours a week.
That sounds like a mobile game.
Yes. I mean, like it is supposed to be like a mobile, it is free to play. They do have to make money, but like, they try to advertise it as this to where you kind of don't have to spend money, and they try to advertise it to us players that you don't really have to spend money, but they just don't have the price support to like really show that. Like,
yeah, especially when the prize support is 1s and 0s.
And like one person in the chat said, why is it trash? You win, you get a pack for less than what a pack costs. That would be true if they didn't have the wild card system, because what happens if you open your 5th copy of a shitty rare? Guess what? whatever, you get your 5th copy that you can never use ever. You can't dust it. It just kind of sits there and collects dust. And whenever your card collection exceeds 4 of a certain amount, the card like blacks and whites itself out. So to signify to you that you already exceeded the maximum amount of copies. So it just completely shits on you. It's just like, yeah, good job on getting good Momir Vig. Here's your 5th copy of Teshar, Apostle, whatever. Or everything about Arena is ass backwards. They're trying to ride the coattails of Hearthstone and trying to revel in their success, but at the same time, they're not copying enough. They kind of need to copy more from Hearthstone, because Hearthstone has been doing the perfect digital version of Magic for quite some time, and they have a substantial amount of competition in the form of like Gwent and Eternal, which are both pretty good games. If y'all haven't played Gwent or Eternal, give it a shot. This are pretty fun games. But Magic is trailing really far behind, and they are the pioneers of this genre. Without Magic the Gathering, you probably wouldn't even have shit like Hearthstone. And look at how they're doing now. They're barely able to keep up, and they're supposed to have the full game out by November, and it doesn't even feel like it should be close to that. They should at least delay it by another 6 months to another year, it feels like.
Wow, another year.
But they can't afford to. It's already getting too late. They have to release this. They have to release it as soon as possible, in my opinion. Like, even though it's not a finished product and it's not ready, it needs to be released as soon as possible, or else the hype for it's going to die out completely and no one's going to be interested in it. Because you know it's coming out around the corner. A Dota-based card game designed by Richard Garfield along with Valve called Artifact. So the creator of Magic the Gathering is working with the company that owns Steam, aka the largest distributor of digital games on the PC, and it's tied in with Defense of the Ancients, which is arguably one of the largest franchises in all of video gaming. So that's also going to be a huge problem for MTG Arena once Artifact is released. So they got to get this shit fucking dialed. They need to get it down.
Dude, I'm fully behind you on that. I mean, I haven't had the luxury of playing yet, but still, I want a robust digital game too. And obviously, Magic doesn't, Magic Online doesn't hack it, and there needs to be a way for it to be played on like tablets and phones and all sorts of shit, so people can have as much Magic fun as they want to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does need to go on the phone. Get on the phones as much. And Rusty in the chat says I'm being a bit harsh, and I have to with this because Magic the Gathering is Magic the Gathering is a much different beast than video games. Video games is a cutthroat industry. You have to be the best, or otherwise you're pretty much forgotten about. You have to be at that Fortnite level, that Hearthstone level, that Call of Duty level, that Rocket League level, or else you lose your relevancy immediately. And while you will have a niche amount of followers, you're not going to be able to sustain yourself monetarily at the level that Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro wants Magic the Gathering Arena to be. They want it to be an esport. In order to be an esport, you have to be incredibly successful as a game in order to be even considered as an esport.
Man.
And in order to do that, you have to appease to certain video gaming standards and standards that audiences, the video game audience in general wants. Because we Magic the Gathering players have settled for mediocrity for 20 years, 25 years, and we can do that, We have been doing that for quite some time, and we're okay with Wizards of the Coast barebacking us. We're kind of getting pissed off at the cards curling at this point in the reserve list, but for the most part, we've been dealing with their bullshit. In the video games industry, you know what happens when companies like Hello Games releases something like No Man's Sky? They get fucking crucified.
Yeah, and panned for the rest of their days.
You know what happens when a company like Wizards of the Coast and has been touting their largest card, or they have the largest card game ever, and they're releasing a digital version of it, and it doesn't appease the hardcore gaming audience? Go look at Duels of the Planeswalkers. Go ask me how that was doing. Every single installment that was ever released.
Is it good?
I
I feel you there, man. Like,
It's a harsh industry. You have to be the best, otherwise you will be forgotten about.
Like Magic is very different though from video games. You're right on that part. Like it's its own beast because it's all like it's puzzles all at the same time. Whereas like video games, like popular video games, you know, they have to contain a certain amount of action, and Magic is just a lot more thought. It's like more about your mental game up here and less about your like reaction time and all that nonsense.
And like that style of game is growing in popularity now, thanks to more accessible versions like Hearthstone and like Eternal and Gwent, which have like these animations and these sound effects and these ways to immerse you in that world and kind of help distract you from the fact that you're playing this grindy mind game with your opponent.
Yep. And that's what Magic deserves. It deserves to have a style of interface at least as good as Hearthstone. Like without question. It like you said, it's the biggest, the first. It should be able to operate and look good and be fun to play, and the challenging experience of it should be ported over to a digital property that people actually want to play. Because Magic is fun. It's fun to like test your brain and try and come up with complex plays, or to, you know, everything that's awesome about Magic. It seems like it would be easily accessed online, and the fact that we've had to wait so long to get something worthy of how good Magic is crazy. Like it's the one of maybe like 3 things that Wizards does really poorly that needs to change.
Yeah.
Like, the card quality needs to improve. People's access to cards needs to improve, and the digital space needs to be good. Like those are 3 absolute requirements for Magic in the future.
Yeah, that's how they adapt. You either adapt or you die, and that's how they need to change as a company. If they don't do so, if they don't change at least 2 out of the 3, you can survive without being digital. You can definitely do it. It's going to be an uphill battle, but as long as you can win your consumer base back by, I don't know, rolling back on the reserve list and increasing your card quality, you can win a lot of your player base back. But if you can't do that, then go all in on digital and, you know, start letting your players have Black Lotuses on Magic the Gathering Arena. Or maybe they'll do the Holy Trinity and do all 3. I don't expect them to do that. I'm harsh enough to say that I only expect them to maybe pull 1 off, and maybe that's the card quality. That's the one thing that I actually expect them to improve on, is the card quality.
See, that, I agree with you there. I feel like the card quality is like it's the first door out of, like, if there's 3 doors you have to open, it's like that first barrier right there is improve the card quality and make it good.
Yeah.
Because
I just don't want to play with bent cards.
Yeah, you're never going to have anybody's confidence unless you improve the card quality. And that is the gatekeeper to the other 2 doors.
There's specific cards that had to be proxied out in Pro Tours and in like Grand Prix, because the only printings of them that were available were foils. And, well, foils used to be known for curling back then, but they're really known for curling now. And cards like Nexus of Fate and cards like Kess, Dissident Mage, only known of as foils, have to be proxied out in professional events to make sure, like, you're not marking your deck or whatever. Like, wow. that really says a lot about you as a company. But that's beating a horse that's been dead for like the better half of a decade now. It feels like Wizards really has to step their cookie up in almost every aspect that they possibly can.
Man, card quality first.
Definitely card quality.
Like actual physical card quality we're talking about.
Stop spending money on your marketing and just get better printers or something. I don't know. Maybe that's why they're trying to focus more on digital. Maybe the card quality thing is at a loss, and maybe there's like tariffs within the paper industry that makes it almost impossible.
A loss? There's no fucking way, dude. They're printing money. There's no way. Like, I'm sure there's a base cost of it, and I'm sure it's millions of dollars. But still, it's making a quality tactile product is literally all that they do. It's like your one job is to make this card.
We produce a weird cryptocurrency. That's all we do.
That is made of cardboard. Yo, do it right.
God. Fucking Wizards of the Coast.
Obviously, the answer is just to raise my voice on the internet.
Yes. Yell from the top of your lungs.
Yeah. Overload my microphone right here in front of me, and that'll make Wizards actively do what I want them to do.
So the last thing that I wanted to skirt over before we close out tonight's episode is, because we're already shitting on Wizards of the Coast and their complete lack of quality, or their complete lack of consistency for their digital product, let's move over to the other digital game, and that is Magic the Gathering Online. And I didn't bring this up with you beforehand, but I remembered during the show, and this is something that I wanted to bring up. So I'm only bringing this up briefly towards the end, and we can discuss about it. So, sorry, I had to burp.
Nice.
Magic the Gathering Online was designed and released back in 2001. So that means it has the security system of a program that was released back in 2001. So like things like brute force, just trying to break into an account, just like that password didn't work, enter in 45 million other different passwords using a program that can do so until you can get a password in, or using other various methods to get in. And this system is being exploited, especially amongst more recognized players like streamers and pros, and their accounts are being completely wiped out and being sold off by people, or they've sourced that some people are doing this from like Sweden. Maybe it's a one-man operation, but this is a thing that's been happening for quite some time, months if not years, but it's really coming to a head lately because Card Hoarder, one of the largest sites that distributes Magic the Gathering Online cards that you can trade with, emailed a pro, or maybe it was a regular person, but they showed on Twitter the email that they got from Card Hoarder saying like, hey, this collection that we received from you or from this person seemed very similar to other trades that we've had in the past that turned out to be fraudulent. As a result, we've put a hold on all the shit or whatever. We're giving you your cards back, or we're just letting you know. And the fact that Card Hoarder did this and not Wizards of the Coast, because Wizards of the Coast has been absolutely, fantastically, horrendously bad at responding to all of this with like really delayed responses and taking like up to like a month and a half, and able to get people's accounts back at fractions of the amounts, because you'll spend thousands upon thousands of dollars on building your collection, but they won't be able to fully bring it back. No, they won't be able to flick a switch and be able to check the code and see, oh, you had these cards in here, let's give them back to you. Oh, no. That affects the economy. That messes with the cards in the system. So we can't do that. We can't mess with the economy that we literally create. No, you can get fucked.
Wow.
Just all aspects from this has made me want to sell out completely from MTGO. I've talked about it before, and I made a video where I said I was going to, and I did sell off a majority of my collection except for my Pauper decks, but now this makes me want to get rid of like my Pyroblast and my Hydroblast, because it's like, what if someone hacks into my account and sells all my shit and I won't be able to get any of it back? Like, I might as well beat them to it.
Is it worth it to take the time to do it? I mean, like, how much are your Pauper decks worth online?
Well, Pyroblast and Hydroblast are sitting around like $6 to $8 on a given day, and I have 3 of each.
And I leave it. Yeah,
and
I mean, it's worth.
Well, no, I mean, like, I'd say like in my Pauper collection, because I have like about 15 to 18 Pauper decks. I'd say like in total I have like $400 to $500 on there. Maybe. Oh, wow. Yeah, I might want to just sell out.
Wow, if you can liquidate it all, and man, good one. Yeah, I would do that. If it's $500. Yeah, I'd do that, because you can always just like send it off to a bot to get that much money, right?
Yeah, at like a cheaper amount probably, or maybe just trade it in for credit. Like maybe if I can't like trade it in for credit and convert it into real Magic cards or something, or I don't know, talk to Kevin and just say like, hey, here's my collection, figure it out for me. I could do that maybe.
Because I'm sure that could happen.
I did get those Power Blast and Hydro Blast for him, so I might as well feed him back. But he always talks about selling out on Moto anyways. He's been doing that for years.
Yeah, I think it's time to pull the trigger, dude. If you're worried about your stuff getting just hijacked and taken away from you and you think it's a real possibility, then yeah, why not?
Mm-hmm.
You are quite high profile. Look at all the shows you've been doing lately.
Right.
YouTube shows. We've had tens of listeners and viewers.
I am such a huge celebrity watch. This next year, I'm going to be on the Pro Tour Hall of Fame committee, and then I'm going to bitch about that. I'm like, I'm a fucking nobody. Why? Why am I on this?
Why would you let me on here?
What the fuck's wrong with you, Wizards? All I do is talk shit on you.
Also, make your card quality better, you idiots. Idiots.
Not that hard, you fucking retards.
Oh, said a bad one.
Whatever.
We just got a strike. Oh no!
Every time I've said the R word on on each stream, I'm still monetized. So maybe the bots just don't pick it up, or maybe they do and they don't care. Could very well be it.
Maybe they do and they don't care. I have a question for you before we wrap things up.
What's that?
Magic the Gathering's live action movie. Where is it? Have you heard anything about it recently?
No. I mean, I heard about it once, like 3 or 4 years ago, and that's about it. And usually when something like that happens and it's just stuck in development hell for half a decade, it's pretty much a dead project at that point.
But you haven't heard anything.
No, but I have seen developments of new comic books and books in general. So, I mean, at least they are working on expanding the lore through various forms of media. If they released a Magic the Gathering movie, I probably would hate it.
Of course. I mean, of course, you're going to hate it, Tasty, Snacky / Nick.
And I liked the Amazing Spider-Man 2 when it first came out. I would probably hate the Magic the Gathering movie.
If it's like The Sorcerer's Apprentice, yeah, I'm going to hate it. But if it's like, if they have a decent script on it, maybe it could be good.
If they made it,
it's going to be Dungeons and Dragons no matter what.
If they made it very true to Magic the Gathering's aesthetic and lore, then yes. If they made it like how they did Power Rangers, the reboot Power Rangers, where they tried to like modernize it or like try to like, I don't know, just make it more appealing towards general audiences, then no, it's probably going to turn into a massive heap of garbage. You got to like go all in and do like kind of how they did with the Warcraft movie and just like, let's go right into the world of this IP. If they were to do that for Magic, fine, I would watch it. I did
not mind the Warcraft movie.
I never watched it. I wasn't a Warcraft guy, so I've never been one for video game movies in general.
Like there was only one thing in it that I was like, yo, this is really terrible movie making. What the hell were they thinking? But the rest of the time I was like, all right, I kind of buy this cheesy shit. I'm into it.
Yeah.
Like, it was so like over the top. This is Warcraft. You're like, great. Like so over the top. And I was like, all right, sure. Orcs. Fuck it. Why not? You know, just let it go.
Why didn't we have an orc and human sex scene or something in that movie? Just R rating and like blood and like beheadings and shit.
Jesus. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Not during the sex. Good God, I'm not that extreme. But I mean like just full on R-rated movie. That's what they should have done with Warcraft. God damn.
A Rocky wedding without at least 3 deaths is adult.
What about the Dungeons and Dragons movie? Have you ever seen that?
Yo, the Dungeons and Dragons movie is trash.
I've seen like the nostalgia.
It's got a goddamn Wayne's brother in it. No, I actually saw an interview with the Wayne's brother that was in it on Desus and Mero.
Uh-huh.
He was like, yo, that shit was gonna be like Lord of the Rings. But like but before Lord of the Rings came out, like he had planned to be in like a big budget movie, and it turned into like a $5 million movie instead of like a $60 million movie. So
really? Like yeah. he had hopes thinking that it was going to be like a huge franchise, but it ended up just being like this low budget kind of hammy
Yeah.
Shit fest.
As much shit as people talk about the Wayans brothers, by the way, after seeing that particular Wayans brother on Desus and Mero and like talk to them about what went on in his career and stuff, I was like, yo, this guy seems like he's a super legit, like, interesting person with actual drive and a neat storied career that I would like to hear more about. But people just clown on the Wayans brothers all the time, which, you know, fuck it, it's easy to clown on people, but but like
there was the only one Wayans brother that I really remember was God, I can't even remember the show, but he had a show that lasted throughout the mid 2000s where it was like him and his wife and a couple kids, and it was like one of those relatable black family comedy shows that they would like air on BET and shit at the time, and the CW. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yep, I do. I know not the title of the show, but I remember seeing like ads for that. I feel like
I enjoyed that show. I can't remember the name of it. I just remember like this nerdy kid that was like crushing on the little girl character all the time, and like he was really good at piano and shit. It was the bald Wayans. That's all I remember.
Could it have been Keenan Ivory Wayans?
No, I want to say it was no, it wasn't Damien. Damien's the one we've been talking about.
Yeah, he's the one who was in the D&D movie.
Yeah, maybe
Shawn Wayans.
Huh?
John Wayans?
No.
Either way, I guess after when you hear someone's story and you connect with and you like see that there's an actual real person behind like the shit talking and all the crazy like the memes out there, it you kind of start to sympathize with somebody, especially like.
Well, yeah, because like when you break it down to like the most basic level is like this meme is also a person that probably also thinks about the fact that they're a meme and they get clowned on all the time.
No doubt.
Like imagine being in that person's shoes.
Imagine being Guy Fieri. Like that dude has a kid that he cares about more than anything in the world. Like he's a person. He's a fucking father, man.
And that kid can't help but think of his father as the meme man.
Yep. But
my dad's on TV and he gets made fun of by a bunch of shit posters.
Yeah, dude. Like your dad gets clowned on the fucking daily. But you know what? At the end of the day, that kid is rich, and that kid knows fucking Steph Curry and shit. So
and he knows how to cook.
Yeah, and he knows how to cook. Good point. Good.
So
point,
it can't be all that bad. Just as long as he takes his depression medication, it should be fine.
Yeah. At the end of the day, you're still rich. God damn.
Have you ever seen that Guy Fieri meme where it was like he slathered the bullet in barbecue sauce, put the barrel in his mouth, and said one last trip, click to Flavor Town, and then look it.
That is dark.
Yeah. Memes, man. Memes are fucking weird.
Damn, that is dark.
So on that incredibly positive note, I think we'll go ahead and end the podcast here tonight. McBee, any final parting words for our followers?
Slops to that Guy Fieri meme. That's a bad one. That is a bad one.
It is.
Finger guns.
But we got to do our dances at the end. Say something so people can see you.
Yeah. I'm over here dancing. The end of the show.
Thank you all for watching Mana Dorks Podcast episode 7. As always, with my co-host McBee.
Yeah, we're still dancing.
Anyways, my name is Stacy Snackies. You all have been wonderful, and I'll catch you on the flip side.
Dancing.